Our top story this hour, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. It's set to take place in Samarkand, Uzbekistan on the 15th and the 16th of September. And the Prime Minister of India, Narendra Modi, the President of Russia, Vladimir Putin, President of China, Xi Jinping, and Prime Minister of Pakistan, Shehbaz Sharif, will all be under the same roof. This year's summit comes in the shadow of the war in Ukraine and growing energy concerns. The leaders are expected to address these issues along with other key concerns here as well. Now, for more on this, we're being joined by our principal diplomatic correspondent, Siddhant Sibal from Samarkand. Thank you so much for joining us, Siddhant. To begin with, what can you tell us about the key issues on the agenda, apart from the ones that I've mentioned?
Well, Haim, the historic city of Samarkand, which is also known as the cultural capital of Uzbekistan, will be backdrop of the SCO, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit. And while the leaders meet, three important geopolitical flashpoints have emerged. First, of course, is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The second, Taiwan Strait crisis and deteriorating relationship between India and China, two large countries of Asia. So on the table, we'll be making sure that while the new world order rises, the flashpoints, the impact can be reduced. Now, the focus on the agenda, first, of course, is the expansion of the grouping. We know that Iran becomes a member of the grouping, and we know the ambassador, the Uzbek ambassador, who is right now here in Samarkand, spoke to WION and said that this opens the gate for other West Asian countries to join the grouping. The grouping is already very large geographically in terms of economy and in terms of size, and the addition of these West Asian countries means it will grow larger. The second, of course, is to deal with issues like counterterrorism, radicalization. The entire region does majorly faces the issue of terrorism and radicalization, and of course the situation in Afghanistan. What is interesting to know is that Afghanistan is an observer member of SCO and in the past has been invited for the summit. It is perhaps after many years that Afghanistan is not invited, primarily because of the regime change, and Taliban is there at the helm of affairs in Kabul. So clearly a lot of things on the table, but essentially it will be key bilaterals which will be happening on the sidelines that will also hog the spotlight.
Right, absolutely, Siddhant. In fact, I was just going to come to that. India, Pakistan, China, Russia to be present, of course. Do we have any clarity or timeline of any of the bilaterals that may have been scheduled on the sidelines of the SCO summit?
Well, Haim, many permutations and combinations when it comes to various bilateral meetings. No confirmation, no word from any side over bilateral meeting except one side, that is from Moscow. Russian President Vladimir Putin last week confirmed that he's going to meet the Chinese President Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the summit that's going to take place here in Samarkand. And that will be the first meeting between the two leaders since Russia-Ukraine conflict. We know the growing camaraderie between Beijing and Moscow is something that the West is very cautious about. So that is why this bilateral meeting is something that will be a key focus. But if we talk about India's stance point, there are three key areas or perhaps bilaterals which may happen, might not happen, but anyways will make the big headlines. First, with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. No word by both sides as we know, but both sides will be under the same roof since the Galwan incident of 2020, in which India lost 20 of its soldiers. So we know that both sides are not going through a very positive area or perhaps zone of relationship. But it is also known that the Chinese side is very keen for any bilateral.
Right.
With Russia, of course, it's given that there will be a meeting given the close partnership between the two countries. But again, another elephant in the room is will the Indian and the Pakistani leaders meet? We know that any structured bilateral meeting is almost next to impossible, but a pull aside perhaps could be a possibility. We know that recently the Indian Prime Minister extended his condolences in the aftermath of the floods in Pakistan, but it will be difficult for Pakistani leader, in fact, to meet the Indian side, given that elections are going to happen, and the former Pakistani Prime Minister Imran Khan might, of course, use this as an election ploy and, of course, slam Shehbaz Sharif.
All right. In fact, Siddhant, I was just going to come to this. You mentioned this earlier as well. You talked about expansion. Now, in terms of regional and world order, are there any major tectonic shifts that we can witness this time?
Well, the group is seen as an anti-Western group. There are 15 leaders who will be present in this year's summit, which not only includes the 8 member countries, but also Iran, which of course will become a member, expanding the group to 9 members, and countries like Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkey, they will also be present. Turkmenistan, which is not a member of the grouping because of its official stance of a neutral foreign policy, has also been invited. So a lot of leaders are going to be present. So no Western leader, of course, is present. So this is something that the West will be keenly noticing on as to what transpires here, because many of these countries, and this grouping is dominated by Russia and China, are keen to create an anti-West world order that challenges the current Western dominating world order. So that is why whatever happens here in Samarkand, in the historic city of Samarkand, where history has been written in trade, in blood, and now, of course, at a time when the geopolitics is changing very fast, is something that the world will be keenly noticing on.
Right. Siddhant, thank you so much for bringing us all the updates on this. We will, of course, continue to track the developments very closely with you there. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.